Did you notice that everywhere nowadays asks you to tip?
I'm getting really annoyed by everyone asking me to tip. It's just starting to annoy me now.
Yeah, because whenever people think of inflation, they think of just the dollar losing its purchasing value. But the other part are these soft costs that are increasing. And two of them is one, the mainstreamification of the tip button, where everyone is asking you to tip now. And two are homeless people getting more aggressive. Like they really want the money. So these are two ways where nowadays, if you're not making six figures, I mean, in a lot of places, you should be worried. I mean, you got to make six figures. Um, but yeah, man, what's up with the tip button being just mainstreamed out of nowhere? Before, it used to just be for haircuts, valet, and fancy restaurants. Nowadays, literally, bro, I went to purchase chewing gum recently. I go into the convenience store, I pick up the chewing gum myself, I'm checking out, and then they ask, tip? I'm like, tip for what? You didn't do anything.
It's like a tax, hidden tax.
It's
What
messed up,
happens if
man.
you don't tip for something like that? What happens if you don't tip? Are you thought of as rude, or is it like a fox pass, what have you?
Um, So in a place like that, you going to a convenience shop, you're not supposed to tip for something like that. This is clearly someone that's trying to be greedy. But if you go to a restaurant, now it becomes a debate where if you go to, let's say, one of those places where you get a bowl and they ask you for a tip, it's like, you didn't really do that much. So I don't know if I should give you a tip right now. If you go to a fancy restaurant, you're expected to tip. But if you're going to one of these semi fancy spots, it's more subjective. And the thing is, if you spend a Sunday where you go to 3 to 5 activities, let's say you're getting your car cleaned, you're going to get coffee, you're going to eat, you're getting a haircut, these are four spots that you're expected to tip nowadays. So just like that, you're spending an additional $10 to $20 that you weren't initially expecting to spend. So nowadays you have to make a lot more money. Otherwise, you can't even just survive in society.
Yeah, that's completely crazy, man. In the sense, for example, if you take a restaurant, right? At your
Hmm.
restaurant, what is the salary for the waiter being paid for? I mean, if you have to give him a tip, then why is he earning a salary? It's a restaurant's job to pay him, not our job as someone buying food to pay him, if you get my drift. Many
I do.
restaurants in India, they have a policy, they don't accept tip. Even if you try to give them tip, they will not take it.
Is this trend dying down nowadays with the mainstreamification of the tip button, or is this still intact?
It depends on the restaurant. Some restaurants will not accept a tip. For example, there is a barbecue place. I forget its name. One sec. Let me think. Hmm. Let me just Google the name. One sec.
Okay.
I want to give these guys a shout out because of their good policy.
Hmm.
Mm,
This is going to lead to the Cold War soon, where a lot of
yeah,
people are going to go ahead. Go ahead.
go on. Sorry, it's called the Barbecue Nation, and I had some barbecues there. It's pretty cheap. It's like $12 for unlimited food, unlimited meat. I was like, what the hell? $12,
Unlimited.
unlimited. You can eat literally as much as you want,
That's an
and the
amazing
menu
deal.
is very very diverse. It's like maybe 20 items,
Hmm.
and I paid them 900 something rupees, which is $12, about maybe a little less than $12. And shockingly, they didn't accept a tip. They're like, so you can leave us a Google review if you like, but we cannot accept a tip. We're not allowed to accept a tip. And
Mm.
the waiters were dressed in, suits and what have you. So they were being paid pretty well. They had
Hmm.
smiles on their faces, and I was pretty happy with my experience. Of course, it's a cheap barbecue, so the food is going to be a bit oily and not the most healthy oils are going to be used in it. But
Right.
if you're on a budget, you want to eat quite a bit of protein. It's an interesting place to go to.
It'll fill you up.
It'll fill you up. I'm used to barbecuing stuff myself. I have grill, and I can just grill whenever I want, whatever I want. But on
Hmm.
that particular day, there were too many people, and no one wanted to do the barbecuing process with so many people on a mini grill.
Oh, so you went with a crew.
Yeah, I went with some of my friends.
If you go with the crew, then you're expected to tip, and you're expected to tip a lot.
They did not accept tips.
Mm. These are the places that are going to win in the upcoming generation. Because right now, these places that are not accepting tips, among other business owners, they're seen as jokes. They're like, man, these guys that aren't accepting tips, don't they know that all you have to do is install a one time menu? And just like that, you're adding in a new stream of income. You're making an additional thousands of dollars per month. These guys are such idiots. But in the future, there's going to be guys like me and you that are like, where are we going to go eat today? We could go to X, Y, and Z spot. Nah, but they charge for tips and all of that. And I don't want to overthink if I'm going to give them tips or not. Or we could go to this spot. This spot, they make you pay what they advertised as. Yeah, I'm going to go to this spot because I don't want to think. So these spots are going to win in the future because there's going to be some sort of cold war that's brewing between consumers and all these places that are charging tips out of the blue moon. Eventually, McDonald's is going to charge tips. That's my prediction.
Here's my take on this, and I'm
Hmm.
not sure. I would like to hear what your thoughts are. But I think that for the lower end consumer, right, people who are paying less money to get more food, people who are poor or lower middle class and what have you, the places they frequent, that's where this stuff matters more. For example, people who are regularly visiting McDonald's, they don't have that much money to spend. I mean, they're trying to save money by paying a few bucks for their meal, right? Not the healthiest meal, but money matters to them.
Right.
Those types of places are unlikely to introduce the concept of, pushing a tip in your face simply because the customer is very price sensitive. Even this cheap barbecue place is probably trying to target people who want a barbecue in a lower price point. On the other hand, places that are more expensive, which has upper middle class or rich people showing up, those places can comfortably charge a tip without overthinking, because those types of customers, they are not price sensitive. They will not think, okay, 10 bucks tips, it doesn't really matter. Like someone
Hmm.
paying 300 bucks for a meal can pay 10 bucks for a tip. Like it's something that it doesn't compute for that customer.
They got it like
So
that.
yeah, it's about who you're targeting, and some businesses are about targeting less income people, and some businesses start charge more for higher income people.
Hmm.
So there's gonna be a segregation. I don't think if you've noticed, but lately there's been much more despair in the general public as economies are slowing down. Have you noticed that?
I have been noticing that a lot more negativity.
A lot of despair. People are not doing so well, and soon we'll have the middle classes being wiped out, as you can see with the whole interest rates rising, mortgage rates rising, and things like that. Costs
Salaries
going
remaining the
up,
same.
costs going up, and salaries remaining the same. So we'll have people who are lower middle class and poor, and
Hmm.
we'll have people who are, say, higher upper middle class and rich. But that middle section is thinning, it's vanishing. People are either moving up or down. So we'll soon see diverse sets of services targeting either the very poor or the very rich.
Yeah, because what you're saying with the whole tip thing, I 1000% agree with it. I think for the common stuff like fast food, you shouldn't charge a tip because most people coming there don't have money like that. But for fancy five-star restaurants, charge a tip. The confusion comes when you have these middle spots. Do you guys have Chipotle?
We do not, but I've searched what it is about. We have similar stuff, yes.
Have you seen it before?
Nope. Only in the
O-
US.
Okay, so these are the places that are middle grounds. So they're fast food, but they're not fancy. But they're not. They're like in the middle ground territory where it's not cheap, but it's not expensive either. And for places like this, the question is, do you still charge a tip for that? And that's where the confusion is coming in.